I told it to find the best in this area, the best in marketing,
That's
the best
smart,
in
yeah.
technical stuff, and provide me with their details for a board of directors. And so it came up with names and gave me the list, and I said, fine, let's use it.
Hell yeah.
And just yesterday, when we're training, we want to focus on our customer service aspect of our business. So when we work on tickets for clients, make sure that they get dealt with in an appropriate manner and in a time frame that's acceptable for both the client and us, and open up and establish better communication with the client. So we set up a board in her AI that was specific to marketing. And I said, I'm in Ontario, Canada, and I said, with knowledge of the Ontario market, pick 3 people that can be our marketing advisors.
And today we've got somebody really special to me. Tom was in one of our first peer teams a million years ago, probably back in 2012, 13, 14, something like that. And Tom, welcome to the podcast. And how did you get started in this crazy MSP world?
Oh my gosh. Believe it or not, this is the 30th anniversary month of my being in business.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. We're just
Wow.
about to send out some information in our newsletter and contact our prospects and clients and let them know we've been around a while.
Wow.
I was a technician in a different field, a machinist fitter. And I was looking for change in my life. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and so there were some training courses available at that time that I signed up for a course in theater uh, things. So theater set building or whatever. I thought, well, it might be an interesting place to go and meet some interesting people. And while I was there, I found a course came up for electronics and computer integration. And so I had an interest in it from 7 years old. I remember popping a fuse at my friend's house as we were rewiring one of the lamps in his bedroom and putting a dimmer switch on, but instead of putting in a line, we put it across the wires and
Right.
turned it on and shorted the fuse. And from that day ever, I've always been interested in electronics and electronic things. So I applied to transfer and got into a training course, took a co-op, and from the co-op was offered partnership in the company and eventually took over. And
Wow.
here I am.
Wow. Okay. Dang, that would have been in the early 90s, it sounds like.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
you were right at the beginning of the heyday or the big transitions.
Yep. Back
Nice.
in those days, we sold hardware and
Yeah.
we made our money on hardware. This is
Yeah.
pre Dell really in the market.
Yeah.
And we did support for free. Now it's the complete opposite. We don't make any money on hardware, and we earn our living on the support that we do.
You know, it's really funny. My mentor, Larry Scholes, he was about 20 years older than me, and I started, working underneath him in like 2004-ish, and he used to tell me that. And he shared that with me, and I was just like, "Whoa, that's crazy!" And I hadn't been in the industry before that, so everything he told me, I was just like, "Oh, okay, that's going to clock in all this information." You're the first person in 20 years to tell me what he told me all those years ago. So that is fascinating. Just
Yep.
money was in the product, give the service away. That had to have been an interesting transition as you took, more and more responsibility for the business to kind of map that change in how you were pricing and how you were going to market. Does that sound right?
Yeah, it is. For years I struggled to make the transition to MSP, and I couldn't get past the what would it be the how to plan, how to price, what products to provide, and then talk to the clients about changing the complete model that everyone knew. I mean, I when you think about it, I remember giving people email. and that was life changing for them. And we said,
Yeah.
I often said, well, let's just give you a 30-day trial, and you can message people in the office and communicate. And they did. And at the end of the 30 days, when it expired, they're like, we need it back. And
Yeah.
and and that was that. It's just the things I remember. It's a changed world, right?
You know, they have a name for that, by the way, what you did
Old
there.
old age.
Well, there's that. That you let people try something, and then, you know, if they like it, you've got the easiest sale of your life. They call that a puppy dog close. Have you ever heard that before?
No, I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, you
I
get
mean,
kind of comes from, you know, mom and dad bring the kid to the mall. They go into the pet store. Pet store says, "Oh, you like that puppy? Go ahead and take him home for the weekend. And if you think it's right for you, keep it. But if it's not right for you, just bring the puppy dog back, you know, Monday morning." The dog never
yeah,
came back.
yeah. I
So,
think my dad did that with a couple automobiles in the '60s.
is that right?
And
Yeah.
it was more the mum clothes at that point, I think.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, very cool. So yeah, you were part of that generation of IT that gave people their first email addresses.
Hmm.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. And therefore you probably got into that small business server world, or that whatever the exchange
Yes.
servers were back then.
Yeah.
Y-
That and Blackberry servers and
Yeah.
things that don't exist today.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Were you now? It seems like that would have just been the a very easy point in time to be making limitless money. Just everyone was learning that they needed it. Everyone wanted it. No one had it. What was your experience in those early days?
Really, when we were selling the hardware piece, we had a lot of government contracts, and
Mm,
we were, to be honest, we were making like $400 a PC, and
yeah.
we were selling lots of them, and it was it was easy. People were the market was exploding for hardware, and then when the tier one guys came in and started to market to our clients, that whole shift started to change. So definitely a different world, a little bit less stressful in a lot of ways because there wasn't as much coming at you. It was like we were hardware techs, we repaired hardware, and there wasn't much coming at you like my cybersecurity, right? That's a
Yeah.
huge change in the way things are today compared to back then.
Yeah. No doubt. So as you kind of transitioned into that you know, that 2004, 2005, when the really 2003, when those RMMs started, you know, kind of showing themselves and whatnot. How did you react to that? And were you an early adopter? Did it take you a little longer to kind of come online with how you could do that, you know, remote monitoring and management?
Um, I would say an earlier adopter for sure. Again, I had difficulty with the transition
Yeah.
and the inexperienced, young. Um, Even though I was maybe 6 or 8 years in business at that point, I was still a young learning entrepreneur, and I mean, I feel like I'm still a learning entrepreneur. I don't think you ever stop, but
Right.
I really struggled with change. The person I was then is different than the person I am today, and now I find it more. Um, I find it easier to transition when changes come. As you know, in the industry right now, there's a shift with AI
Hmm.
and all of the focus in the early adopters. I think we're still in early adoption. Is to consult and assist with AI and secure AI again. So there's another big shift happening in the marketplace, and I'm finding it easier. I'm adopting the new ways for myself, and I feel like I'm a little bit behind, but I do have some connections that are helping me move forward in that direction.
Right. Well, let me ask you this. So I've been for about the last 2 years, a thought keeps coming in my head around AI that it's like, I wish I was 10 years older or 10 years younger. If I was 10 years younger, I'd be able to dive into this AI and really get some awesome benefit for the latter half of my career. If I was 10 years older, I maybe could be out of all of this and it wouldn't have mattered anyway. How are you kind of facing that AI reality? Is it, just super optimistic and exciting, or are you kind of wishing it
I
would have
I
stalled a
I
little bit
do I
longer?
do find it exciting. The things that you can do with it outside of search engine stuff.
Right.
What's the word? Use it as a thought partner. Like
Oh,
a
sure.
strategy. That
Sure.
type of use, not to solve technical issues. Or I mean, it's great too, but in all areas of life, once you understand the capabilities and how to manage it, it's opens up a lot of doors. And I they say, well, it's going to affect staff, but I actually just hired someone. I've given her an AI account to work with me, and we're going through training to get her to start using AI to help me develop some systems and some programs and some planning and strategic
Yeah.
planning stuff is really where I look at the use for me anyway.
Oh, for me too, for sure. I got lucky and stumbled across, somebody sharing some kind of prompt, engineering for, way too technical of a term, but kind of gave me the thought process around how to ask for that collaboration from the agent. And so I did a lot of like pretend you're the best attorney,
Yes.
pretend you're
Yeah.
this. And then my a good client and even better friend was telling me how he does it, and he says, um, I put, he named in like 5 or 6, really well known business leaders that he respects, and he said, you know, you are my board of advisors. You hold me accountable. You give me minimal praise, but because I don't want you to just be nice to me. I don't want you to, agree with
Yes.
me. Um, put yourself in this mindset. And as I go through these dialogues, advise me as if you were those people. And he just for him, he unlocked something great for himself, where
Yes.
which means he spends less time with me, letting me bill him less money. But I sure can't beat those great brains. But I thought that was just fascinating the way people are coming up with prompts that really serve, what they're trying to do, not just
Yes.
ask it a simple question.
Yes, yeah. Actually, it's interesting that you talked about the board of directors. I think that's becoming more common knowledge, at least among the adopters right now, that
Yeah.
you can do that. I did set up a project, as you may or may not know, in AI, you can set up multiple projects. So one
Yeah.
of the projects I set up was a board of directors, but I didn't select the people for it. I
Mm.
told it to find the best in this area, the best in
Oh,
marketing, the
that's
best
smart.
in
Yeah.
technical stuff, and provide me with their details for a board of directors. And so it came up with names and gave me the list, and I said, fine, let's use it.
Hell yeah.
And just yesterday, when we're training, we want to focus on our customer service aspect of our business. So when we work on tickets for clients, make sure that they get dealt with in an appropriate manner and in a time frame that's acceptable for both the client and us, and open up and establish better communication with the client. So we set up a board in her AI that was specific to marketing, and I said, I'm in Ontario, Canada, and I said, with knowledge of the Ontario market, pick 3 people that can be our marketing advisors. And I think we also decided to add one technical person to have a technical view of it. And then to take that a step further, we added that we want that board to agree on the decision that they make. And if there are any dissenters, please provide their reason for dissenting and why, and then come up with a consensus of a plan that they all agree can help us move forward. And it changed everything, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
I mean, I also have done that where I have presented something to that board, And once that project's set up, you tell it, use this board for all of your decisions and add things like be human, do this, use my
Right.
personality, that thing.
Yeah.
But once we did that, I'll take in a specific, say, a marketing plan that's in my head, document it, and then say, please critique it. And they'll all come up with their different critiques. And each member of the marketing board has their own critique. And then from that, let's build a consensus and provide a strategic plan for marketing.
That's
And
brilliant.
yeah,
I have not gone to that level, and in fact, I was almost getting a little irritated with my Chat GPT, so I went and kinda changed some of my answers, when you're setting up your profile of, like, how do you wanna talk to you, and now I think about what you've set up, and what I did was so basic. This makes a lot more sense,
and
yeah.
you know what? I'm just touching the edges of it with that, right?
Mhm.
It's so powerful.
Oh, for
Um,
sure, for sure. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, Tom, at Bering McKinley, we recently launched, our app for our clients, and we built an AI agent. I've got a really brilliant partner in that it really blew my mind. But because of that, I've gotten to learn a little bit, a smidgen of how AI works, and the data sets and how you format the data, and it's been fun to kind of take all of our knowledge at Barry McKinley and shove it in there. And it took us, I don't know if it took us longer or if we should have put any more time, but we probably put, I don't know, I'd probably be exaggerating if I said 700 hours of work plus
oh
all
yeah,
of our knowledge getting it in there. And our clients are benefiting from it. We're benefiting from it. But the reason I share this is, have you had the opportunity to kind of feed a data set into ChatGPT about yourself, your knowledge, your specific way of thinking on lots of different topics? Is that on your roadmap? Have you done any of that yet?
I did a little bit. I told it who I am, how I believe business should be run, how I
Good.
believe communications and connections and relationships should be, and I said to be use that in any decisions that you make, and it'll come on. Like we'll be in the middle of something, 5 projects down the road, and it will say, "And I've done this following your guidelines about who you are and keeping it personal," or whatever,
Right.
based on what I told it. So, yeah, I've done a little bit, but I'm only touching the tip of the iceberg. One of the interesting things is I know you guys have done, ConnectWise consulting in the
Mhm.
past, and I I put the customer service thing in yesterday, or we did, and it came back and it said, this can also be integrated into ConnectWise or Autotask or whatever you're using. So I said to it, well, can you provide a detailed instruction on adding it to ConnectWise and not automating it, that we can manually use it to send it out when we're ready? And it came up with all the steps. Go into this,
Yeah.
go into that, go into that.
Yes.
And yeah, actually today I'm going to go and implement that. And
Yes.
it in the past it would have been something that we would have had to go into university and study and
Yes.
learn. But now I just got steps to do this. So
It's amazing, how good it is at the ConnectWise stuff too. It's our consultants will, just kinda double check something, or actually even like, "Hey, this is how I think about doing this. Is there another way?" And these are world-class experts in those tools,
mhm,
and
mhm.
they're finding those little nuances. I'm blown away. I'm
Yeah,
blown away
yeah,
at how it's learned, and I'm sure there's a million other tools that we'll never even use, that it knows that much about those tools too. It's really cool.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's a little scary, but we had to kind of, my partner uses the phrase, we had to face what's called the innovator's dilemma, as we built our AI agent, because we knew that the more we feed this, the less reliant our clients will be on us. And we make our money on doing work for people, charging and making a living. So the dilemma was, well, if we tell it all this, then they're not going to need us. And that was kind of the fear. And it's like, and it was not an easy decision, but it was like, you know what, let's just do it. what we had to evaluate was, how are we actually serving our clients? And we kind of came to this conclusion that we're serving our clients with tasks, task completion. How do I do this? Should I make this job description? And that's all valuable work. But we realized, or we thought, we don't really want to make our money from that. We want to make our money from the strategic side, how we actually help them implement those awesome tasks, how they actually grow their revenue, grow their profit, grow their enterprise value. And time will tell if we were right to do that, but that was one of those first decision points of, as we build this, how are we, potentially shortening our lifespan with putting this knowledge out there even more. Are you faced with any of that kind of dilemma as you think how you're going to serve your clients?
We'll be right back with more, but first, here's a quick message from Bering McKinley.
Most MSPs are constantly busy, chasing tickets, projects, and fires. But without structure, it's hard to know if the business is really improving. Vision from Bering McKinley is the system that helps you work on your business, not just in it. It connects leadership strategy with daily execution. Vision aligns people, process, and performance, creating clarity and rhythm from goals to results. And the Vision app brings that structure to life, helping you create policies, track goals, review KPIs, and collaborate with your BMK consultant all in one place. Behind it all, Jetson AI, your assistant inside Vision, helps you find answers, generate insights, and take action faster. With Vision, you gain visibility, accountability, and measurable growth. You're not guessing, you're improving. Vision, Jetson, and the Vision app, your path from strategy to results. Start transforming your business today.
All right, let's get back to the conversation.
Well,
Technical.
I'm smiling right now because I want to ask you, did you ask ChatGPT if it was a good decision?
Uh, Gary is my chat GPT. So he probably did a lot of
Yeah.
research in there. I missed that. I did not check to see if it was a good idea. I probably actually will now. So
Yeah. So
that's a good point.
one of the things, shifting gears a little bit,
Yeah.
I've been reading a book in process, actually just finished, on marketing.
Yeah.
And they talked about their thing is online marketing more so in a retail space possibly.
Sure.
And one of the things that they did was they went in and they um, positioned themselves as experts in they provided information on all of their competitors and um, industry, like equipment that they sold or whatever, and
Sure.
they started to evaluate all that, and they evaluated their competitors, but they didn't put themselves in the list as the top 5 in their area or whatever. And so they became a place to go where people looked for information on who's the best in the area,
Okay.
and ended up at their site. And even though they didn't put themselves on the top 5, the people that came into their site saw their site. And rather than hiding their competitors from everyone, they exposed their competitors and more or less became the location where people went to look for what's the best place to buy a refrigerator, or what's the best
Right.
kind of stove to buy, or who makes the
Right.
best automobile for doing this. And they shifted their marketing to becoming more of a place where people looked for who's the best. But on the other side of that, they also did a um, a whole series on SEO stuff, that like what's wrong with this product. And the
Mm.
product that they sold was one of the products. They said, okay, what's wrong with this product? And they compared it to the other models or other types of the similar product in the industry. And the logic was that people don't go online looking for what's great about a product. They go online looking for what's wrong with the product.
Yes.
And so in doing that, they position themselves when people were looking for issues, it ended up at them. And I guess turning that into an answer to your question is yes, you may be helping your clients in some ways automate things and take away some of the work you're doing, but at the same time, you're moving yourself up to a higher level where you're providing them more information that's above what they can get in a little task that you've had AI generate for them. And I think positioning yourself as someone to come to for advice on not only what's great about something, but what's wrong about something and how can we make it all work, right? You know what I mean? It's a
Oh
shift in
yeah.
mindset.
Oh yeah. No, that's very true. It's I hadn't thought about this in a while, but there's probably a 3-year period where if I was excited about a product or a good or whatever it was, uh my Google search was, ABC sucks, Toyota sucks or whatever it was,
Mhm, mhm.
just so I could hear, because I already thought it was good. Let me hear the counter argument about why some other people see things that I'm not seeing that aren't good about that. But but yeah, that drove my search query. So if someone was, doing that type of strategy when I was in that mindset, boy, they probably would earn my business because I would have seen what they had to say and then also been able to say, oh, and but in fact, you actually can guide me through or help me get this thing I want. That's
I actually
hilarious.
was doing it yesterday. I was looking at reviews for something that I'm looking at, and I
Yeah.
didn't look at the fives. I looked at the ones and twos.
Isn't that something? Yeah, it
Yeah,
must be a human behavior. That's
yeah.
exactly what I do as well.
So if you can position yourself for that, then people naturally come to you, and regardless of how much information AI is giving them, there's always a human piece that needs to be added, and
Yeah, there's
really
no
all you
doubt.
need to get to is a point where you're in a position that people are looking to you for that advice,
That's right.
and that just then becomes about leadership and relationships at that point, right?
That's right. And Tom, I don't have enough data points to know if the conversation you and I are having is the most evolved bleeding edge conversation or if in fact we're 8 months behind everyone else. I don't know. But I have to presume that in your client base of people who depend on you for technology guidance, there's people who are curious but have not yet taken some of those leaps or haven't learned what you've learned so far. How are you dealing with bringing AI to the forefront of conversations with your clients?
Um, I guess from a security perspective, I asked them if they're using it and if they thought about any security implications, and do they know if their staff is using it or not? I mean, any staff person can set up a free account and use it. You don't know if they're doing that or not, and so I enter the conversation with that question, and then kind of give them a little bit of a chat like we just had about what some of the options are as a strategic thought partner, not as a task uh, assistant. So I'm not finding huge traction in my clients, and again, I'm just starting with it. But I think that there's still a fear that it's dangerous,
Right.
and I'm okay with that. I think if my clients are afraid of it, that's a good thing in the
Mhm.
sense that they'll respect it and not get themselves in trouble where someone who just opens the door and says, come on in, and it's more dangerous.
Right.
Yeah, I'm in that spot right now where I've been doing cybersecurity. We were early adopters in that, and um, I that's a tribute to a coach that I use, and yourself that coaching is so important, and
Mm.
that's how we met was your coaching, and we can tell that story if you're ready for it. But um, so I'm still very much in the cybersecurity space.
Yeah.
I'm learning right now, and I think that we need to move down that road just because that's where the public and everyone is headed at this point. I don't know if it's a fad or if it's a permanent change. So I'm going to say reluctantly because I've always had a difficulty adopting change. I'm reluctantly making that change, but I am looking at it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I asked that question of a lot of, MSP leaders, and the answers are usually within about 10 degrees of separation of I'm not hearing anyone saying I'm building my business model around it. We think we have a great solution. We know how to monetize. I'm not hearing that yet. And I'm also not hearing anyone saying, man, who cares? I'm ignoring it. Usually somewhere in the band that you just said as well. And not being an MSP and being someone who doesn't understand technology as well as my friends and clients do, I can find myself getting overly optimistic. I can find myself, trying to nudge people along, saying, "No, just come up with a solution. You have a talk track. Going and just really hit it hard, get them excited." I don't know that that's the right answer, but that's where my set point tends to drive me is go push. That's not my advice, but that's where my set point is.
I have colleagues that are adopting and are doing that, and they have some interesting business models around it. They vary, but consulting and helping bring it into organizations. I
Yeah,
I haven't gone far enough to see the vision through to how is this a sustainable business. Um, Maybe temporarily moving people in that direction, but I still think security is the piece
yeah.
that's more sustainable.
What's the temperature out there in your marketplace on that that adoption of more and more security practices by your clients? Is it are they like, hey, we're all in, maybe we can't afford much more right now? Are they kind of heads in the sand mentality? Where are you seeing the spectrum in your marketplace with clients and security?
I see them come to me and prospects to me as referrals out of fear, where they've in their industry they've been with a group and they've had a fear thrown at them and I've been referred. So I think there's an adoption based on fear, but there's not an acceptance of the cost because it is a cost that is not it's over and above existing costs that they're the shift to MSP, went from $20 an endpoint to two, three, 400, depending on the business and who the clients are. That didn't happen overnight, and so when you go through the whole process with them, and then um, float the price, it is a bit of a step back often,
Yeah.
but they know they need it, and um, most times I find that they do move forward.
Right. Well, that's good. I last week I found myself talking to a lot of cybersecurity, really big companies. It's all they do, and one gentleman was telling me about his business, and they're tens of millions of dollars in revenue, and he's just really awesome person, and he's not an MSP, but he really works with a lot of MSPs, and he said, I think MSPs have a tough business. He said, in our business, we really can't serve people under 50 users. Even 50 to 100 is a little bit of a crapshoot. It's really the folks that are, 100 seats to about 3,000 seats that we're able to serve really well. He said, so the MSPs have this tough business. They've got the knowledge, they have the ability to do similar to what we do, but their clients are just so small. And now you and I, we don't think of a 50-seat company as being small, but
Hmm.
in the bigger picture, it's very small. They don't have the budget. They haven't had that event occur to them that drives them. There's probably not a lot of regulation really forcing them to do it. So he had a lot of empathy for the MSPs trying to bring cybersecurity to that population. Um, it just, apropos of nothing, it's just that's just one of the things that I heard somebody, say last week. Does that resonate with you at all? Is there more to the story that makes us a little more optimistic about wider adoption?
I definitely believe that the size of the business and affordability is a key, because
Yeah.
it's a 5 user company maybe can't afford to spend a lot of money. A lot of businesses are getting by. And when you're smaller, it's difficult to find a cash flow and the profitability and compete and all of it. And so yeah, I think that size of the company and their ability to afford protection is there. But in today's world, smaller companies, and that's they're more vulnerable in a lot of ways than bigger companies, because they're looked at as open game. And so people have to accept that they need that protection. And
Yeah.
I go back to um, early days of backups. um,
Mm,
people didn't do a backup, and then you tell them, well, if you lose your data, what are you going to do? Is, well, I don't know, I guess I'll just deal with it. But then when they lose their data, all of a sudden the budget opens up. And I think until that threat comes your way, a lot of times people are like, I'm okay. I I I I hear that occasionally. Like, you talk to somebody and they're like, nah, no, I think we're okay. We'll be fine.
right.
And then
Right.
the next thing you know, you get the panic calls that they ransom attack, and all their data's frozen. And like, wow, it's a
Yeah.
different story now. Now you can afford it, because, or you're
That's
going to have
right.
to afford it more so, right? And
Yeah.
and I never say to people that it's a uh, it, it's like the old hard drive thing. It's not if your hard drive fails, it's when your hard drive fails. And I think it's not if you have an attack, it's when you have an attack. And
Yeah.
and and the whole preparation is in your due diligence and being ready for when that does happen. And if you are, then the consequences aren't so grave. If you're not, then it's a pay me now, pay me later deal.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I mean, that's money affects how you go in and come out of those situations. So yes,
Yeah.
the answer in the situation, I find that smaller companies are a little bit more, um, they're more difficult to bring on because of the costs. And I think there's people out there that can support them, but they may not support them the way that they need to be supported. We look for a little bit bigger company as our target, just because they can afford the tools they need.
You talk about that pay me now or pay me later. I had two peer team members at the end of 2024 that we talked to them in early January, and I was like, man, what happened? You guys killed it. Your project revenue, your hourly revenue went through the roof that fourth quarter of last year, and both of them, independent of each other, like their story was almost identical. I had a client have a big breach. They had said no to some things earlier in the year, and that was us billing, both of them well over $100,000 in remediation. That's
Yeah,
not covered
yeah,
by the agreement. I said, did they pay? They said, oh yeah, they've paid the bill. And it's like, what would the math have been if they would have spent, the extra $1,500 a month or whatever it was? He said, one of them, it was, like they would have been better off. The other one, it's like, it netted out to the same.
yeah.
But that one also isn't going with a higher degree of cybersecurity offering from the MSP. He said, so we'll be here again. Like and I don't know if this is your vantage point. It's like, once you're breached once, now you're open target.
Second time. Yep.
Yeah.
I think in a lot of cases, insurance or banks drive that as well.
Yes.
If you want insurance for cyber protection, they have certain criteria. One of the things we always look at is where's your insurance at? What's the insurance questionnaire? Have you answered it properly? Did you fill it out so that when there's time to file a claim, that they're not going to come back and say, well, you said you were doing this and you're not. So that drives
Right.
a lot of that decision making as well. And so um,
Okay, so let me give you this analogy, and you tell me how close to this that we are in cybersecurity and insurance. I I took up flying. I'm a low hour pilot. I reach a certain threshold, and I say, "Oh, cool! I can now fly that plane over there. The plane I wanted to fly. I'm so excited! I can now do it because I meet the FAA's requirements. So I can go fly that plane." And, the guy that, is my mentor and that, he's like, "Well, hold on. You don't actually get to fly that plane." I said, "Why not? I meet all the FAA requirements to do that." He said, "FAA doesn't matter. The insurance company's not gonna let you fly that plane. You don't have enough hours yet. You don't have the right type of experience in that plane. They're not gonna let you fly it." So, what I learned in that moment was insurance makes the real rules.
Yes.
Is insurance are we to that point where insurance is really making the rules on what you can, what you have to do, what you should be doing? Are we there yet?
I I I think in order to qualify for the insurance, yeah, there's certain things that they'll require, or the banks, like in order to qualify to continue with the bank or continue with certain types of accounts or financing or whatever, they have
Okay.
requirements that you need to have this in place. I know that in the industry that the insurance companies are a lot more difficult on us as MSPs because we hold the keys to the kingdom for a lot of
Yeah.
companies,
Yeah.
and they've paid out far too much money for their own liking. And obviously insurance is in it to make money. They know how many claims they're going to pay out in a year, and if they start to
Right.
hit that threshold, they're saying, well, we need to do something different because these people are costing us a lot of money. And so they're driving whether you get the insurance or not.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, and if you look back a few years ago, an insurance application for even for a cyber insurance was maybe one page, couple
Right.
questions. Now it's pages upon pages of questions, and they are asking all of the things that we go through in setting up a secure environment, and so yeah, I think they're pushing that a bit right now, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I know one of the talk tracks out there right now, and I don't know if you know a guy named Wes Spencer. Do you know that name?
No, I'm not familiar with that one.
He's a really, great big voice in cybersecurity, kind of in the Tampa area, and he did some really great work. And I think it was him. And my apologies if I'm crediting the wrong person, but uh, he was talking about. He said we want to avoid the government having to come in and regulate what MSPs do, regulate what small business has to do around this topic. So, that was kind of if it was him, it was kind of his battle cry to say, MSPs, we've got to take this super serious. You've got to compel your clients. We've got to do this not only to protect the businesses, but to keep the government at bay. Because eventually, if this becomes a big enough threat, they're going to come in and they're going to start putting mandates in. And we're seeing some of that in Ohio. And I think there's probably more states. Ohio's just the one I'm familiar with, where it's like municipalities have to meet this certain federal threshold. And there's other, state thresholds of you have to have this minimum amount of security, and they've put some real teeth behind it. Whereas if you're not doing this and you say you did, well, you face even prison time, let
Yeah.
alone financial penalties. Um, how's Canada dealing with that? Are regulations looming? Is that
Well,
anything you've been
let
hearing about?
let me look at the US first, and I think you guys have got FTA, which is, I believe, related to financial. I think auto dealerships, they have to comply with
Sure.
FTA regulations. You've got HIPAA
Right.
for healthcare, and I think other
Yeah.
personal information, and they have teeth to that.
Yeah.
We follow, and I don't know, like, I haven't looked recently, but I don't know if there's a lot of regulation that we have that has any teeth to it. We have a personal information privacy uh, um,
Sure.
thing that healthcare has to follow mostly. And the guidelines are just basically to follow some standards, and the standards are government put out, right? So
Right.
So I do think that there is government, um, what would you call it?
Influence, if nothing
Influence,
else.
yes. And in a way, we're an unregulated industry, and in the importance of what we do is huge. And so I'm wondering if maybe there should be some government guidelines and some standards that we need to follow, so that somebody can't just walk out, hang a shingle, and say, "Here, I'm your support guy now," with no
Right,
experience. And so I think we'll see that coming. Is it a good thing? I don't like the state involved in anything that we do. Personally, I
right.
believe in free enterprise and let the market decide. But we're like well beyond those days, if we've ever been in them. I mean, we changed from feudal to monetary slavery. So
Yes.
so but it's important that there is some sort of a standard in the industry, so that businesses are protected properly. And if the US does it, Canada will eventually follow. I think we're 4 years behind that. We have
Okay.
some things that are there, but they're just like, oh, this would be nice. Like Canada, we should just be nice. You
Okay,
know?
fair enough, fair enough. Well, Tom, this is really interesting. I appreciate you having a conversation with me on this. I'm gonna switch gears a totally different direction as we wind down. I just watched this Netflix special about the former mayor of Toronto.
Mr. Ford, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
what a guy.
yeah,
That
yeah,
was I'd love to hear your take. The way they did this documentary, you're just kind of thinking, man, what a piece of shit. Like, what a, because they obviously painted him in the worst possible light. He may have been a great guy that they didn't show, but it's just like, what a dirtbag, what a dirtbag. And then the last 10 minutes are, oh, and by the way, he died. And it's like, oh, well, wait a minute. I didn't want to see that.
yeah.
What you had, a close to front row seat to that gentleman. Was it as wild and crazy,
Yep.
as it
I
seemed?
I haven't seen the documentary, but I'm sure it's probably that way. I mean, we're talking drugs and all
Yeah.
that in his office. I don't know, like scandal after scandal, but a lovable guy.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
interesting, his brother is the premier of Ontario, so the family's still in politics, and he's
yeah,
he's a character as well, right?
yeah. Oh, it was
So
hilarious. It's
yeah,
amazing, and it's countless stories could be told in the United States as well. This guy just was so bombastic, but you're right. I didn't think about that word. He was kind of lovable in a way, like just
yeah,
so obtuse and so just out there, where it's like, but literally more than half the people were a big fan.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's interesting.
yeah. Yeah. Our Toronto mayors have been. There's been a few that have been interesting characters,
Yeah,
but
yeah. I
not
think
now. Now they're kind of boring.
in Chicago, it's well in Illinois, and we had like a three governor streak, I think it was, where they all ended up in prison after either while in office or immediately after. And then our mayors have a long history of just dirtbaggery. But
Yeah, like power corrupts. I just
yes, yes,
it's I don't want to go political, but
yeah,
I struggle with what I see in the world right now, and
yes,
um I don't know where we're headed or what. I just hope that we can find the right people to move us along. And,
yes.
but it's a setup for self-failure almost.
It sure
So.
seems like it. It sure seems like it. Well,
Well,
Tom, I appreciate you giving me some insights on that gentleman. That was a fun documentary to watch. Tom, well, listen, I appreciate you coming and joining the podcast. I had some fun conversation with you. Where can people find you, and where are you located, and where can people find you out there?
we're in Ontario, Canada. I say Niagara Falls. We're in the Niagara region, Niagara area of
Yeah,
Ontario, and my website is yourtech.ca, yourtech.ca,
nice,
and contact information is there. So
outstanding. Well, thanks for joining the podcast, Tom. Appreciate you.
yeah. It's been a pleasure. It's great to talk to you again. It's been a few years, so thank
Absolutely
you.
has. All right. Bye, everyone. And by the way, like, share, and subscribe if you think we earned it. Thank you. Bye bye.
Have a great day.